Welcome God of War fans! My name is Shayne Static, and in this God of War theory video, I will be discussing how Odin will torture Atreus. Be sure to leave a like if you did enjoy your time here, and think about subscribing so you don't miss out on any of my future content. Here we go. Atreus, our little lovable boy. We have watched him grow from this shy, unsure boy to this very capable warrior. But how will Atreus grow in the future of God of War? Will Atreus stay this boy with a good head on his shoulders? Or will he fulfill his destiny as the god of mischief and bring destruction among the realms? And if he does, how will he get to that point? Stay tuned, because this theory gets very serious. Let's start at the end of God of War. Baldur was just defeated and killed by Atreus and Kratos. At the sight of her son dead before her eyes, the goddess Freya swore revenge on Kratos for stealing the last thing that brought her joy in her life, even though Odin, the All-Father, twisted Baldur to his whim and made him despise his mother for his immortality and his lack of feeling anything. God of War Ragnarok, or whatever it's going to be called, I believe will begin approximately 3 years after God of War because of Fimbulwinter, the winter that spans 3 years with no breaks, the first sign of Ragnarok. Here Atreus will be a young adult and at his most impressionable in life. At this point, this is where Atreus is going to be kidnapped. I have discussed this theory many times in prior videos, so this should be no surprise to any of you that have seen my past content. And I bet you couldn't guess who is going to kidnap Atreus. Thor. Thor is out for revenge for the killing of his sons Magni and Modi and the death of his brother Baldur. But I do not think Thor will be alone. I believe Thor has brought some of the other Aesir to help him fight Kratos and Atreus. I don't think Odin is going to be there in this fight, but maybe Heimdall or someone like that. But the point of the battle is to take Atreus back to Asgard with them, and they do succeed. The battle will rage. Thor and Kratos will clash with both Mjolnir and the Leviathan axe. Clashing turns to berserking, which leads to blood. But whose blood? Kratos's. And in the end, Thor and whoever he is with kidnap Atreus and bring him to the All-Father for something even more malevolent. Atreus will be taken to the realm of the Aesir gods and held captive. So now Atreus is in Asgard. He is held captive under lock and key for days, weeks, months, and probably even years. How do I think it will take years for Kratos to find and rescue Atreus? Well, if you have not played through God of War yet, first off, literally go do it and come back. It's amazing and you're seriously missing out. And if you have, then you know what I'm talking about when I say time works very differently in each realm. What could be hours or days in one realm could be months or years in another. So just remember that as we continue. I do believe that at the beginning of this time in captivity, Atreus will be tortured for his part in the death of Magni, Modi, and Baldur. Sad to think, but I believe this is accurate. His torture goes for days, weeks, or even months until Atreus' spirit finally breaks. This is when Odin will come and visit young Atreus. Odin has the reputation of being all-knowing, but we all know from the stories from Ymir that this is not quite true. But we also know from Ymir that Odin is a fantastic liar and deceiver. I believe that Odin will toy with Atreus' mind and will will him to join the Aesir gods. This is when Atreus turns into the god of mischief, Loki. Now from here, Loki is now a part of the Aesir and will probably be trained into doing their bidding and having to prove himself. Now being deceived by Odin, he probably hates his father Kratos for all the quote-unquote lies that he told him as a child. He wants to prove himself among the Aesir ranks. One task will probably be facing off against Kratos because we as players have to see what Atreus has become. So over the years that have passed in Asgard, he would earn his place amongst them, and being around the arrogant gods would soon rub off on Loki. Because we have seen this in Atreus, even when he just found out he was just a god, not a member of the Aesir. Once Loki has come and proved himself, he will be placed among the Aesir ranks beside Odin and Thor. Odin now has complete control of the last known giant. Now let's transition to mythology, which is going to play a huge role in this theory. Loki is the only living thing in all the realms that hates Baldur. Balder was loved by everything in the world between the gods, mortals, even the wildlife. Odin started having awful dreams about Balder in the underworld, so he rode straight there in disguise to find out that they were preparing a feast for Balder's arrival. Soon after, Freya placed an enchantment on Balder so no harm could come to him, so he could no longer be hurt by anything. The only thing that she did not put a protection enchantment against was the mistletoe, which she considered to be harmless. Loki, overcome with jealousy, disguised himself among the gods and had one of them, surprisingly the blind god Hod, to throw a mistletoe at Balder, because before this, Loki dressed up as one of Freya's chambermaids to find out Balder's weakness. Of course, the gods didn't think twice about this, because they are used to throwing things at Balder and hitting him with all kinds of things and him feeling nothing. But this time, with a mistletoe dart or arrow, there's a little speculation here and there, Balder fell and died. All of the world cried and wept for Balder. Freya asked the god Hermod to seek out Hel and asked to return Balder. When Hermod found Hel and asked to return Balder to the living, she said that she would as long as every living thing would weep for Balder's absence. Odin and Freya were so happy to hear this. Every living thing did weep for Balder, all except one giant named Talk, which was soon revealed to be Loki in disguise. After being found out that he is the reason why Balder could not return to the living, Loki had to escape. He tried to escape to a mountain peak nestled between a waterfall. By day, he turned into a salmon to hide underneath the water, and sat by the fire at night, weaving a net to catch his food. His location was found by a group of Aesir, and Loki threw the net into the fire so he could not be caught, and so the Aesir did not know that he was hiding as a fish. The gods found the net in the fire pit, and figured out that Loki was a fish hiding in the river. So, they made unbreakable nets. They looked into the river and found the shiniest salmon in the water, but they could not catch him. Now Thor being there, of course, because, it's Thor, so Thor decided if a bear could catch a salmon, so could he, and caught the god of mischief with his bare hands. They carried him to a small cave in the middle of nowhere. Before they would punish Loki, they punished his sons for their father's actions. They made one son turn into a wolf and killed the other. They fastened Loki to a rock with the entrails of his dead son, which the gods turned into iron chains so he could not escape. They then placed a venomous snake above his head and would drip venom on his forehead, causing him agonizing pain. The only person left by his side was his wife Sigyn, who would hold a bowl over his head to catch the venom. One day, come Ragnarok, Loki will break free and seek his revenge. There is another story where Loki became really drunk at a feast and was a complete douche, but I think this story works a little bit better with this theory. So I think something pretty similar will happen to Atreus, or Loki for that matter, but slightly differently. I do think his arrogance will lead him to be hunted, captured, and held prisoner in a cave, but I do not think he will be held by chains made from his son's entrails, because I don't think Loki will have sons in God of War, but that's yet to be seen. Maybe just held there by regular iron chains, or placed in a rock face kind of like Mimir was placed in a tree. There might be a possibility that Loki has gained a loving partner with the time with the Aesir, so they could be the ones holding the bowl, and it could very well be Sigyn. Or Angrboda, who was the mother of Fenrir, Hel, and Jormungandr. So either one could hold the bowl over his head, but once it is filled, the venom will suddenly drip onto his head, causing him agonizing pain. This would create a lust for revenge against the Aesir. This also might be how Odin keeps Atreus captive to break his spirit. I do believe Loki will break free, whether he saves himself, Kratos saves him, or some other god. So one day he will be saved and freed from his captive place. But from who? Now this is going to be the topic for my next video, so stay tuned. So what do you think about this theory? Do you agree, or do you think that I am just way off? Or do you have a theory all of your own? Leave it in the comments down below, and let's discuss it. My name is Shayne Static, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.